The Righteous Mind, a full story retelling by Jonathan Haidt. We begin with an elephant and its rider. Haidt tells us to picture the human mind as an elephant, our intuitive self, with a tiny rider on top, our reasoning self. Most of us think the rider is in charge, steering the elephant with logic and reason. But actually, the elephant moves based on gut feelings, and the rider just follows along, inventing justifications afterward. In other words, we feel first and reason second. This is how morality works. We don't think our way into moral views. We feel them first, then use our intellect to rationalize why we're right. That's how you can have two smart, kind people on opposite sides of an issue, both totally convinced they're standing on moral high ground. Chapter 1-4, Intuition comes first. Haidt's research and others shows when people are asked moral questions, their answers come instantly. They can't always explain why. It just feels wrong or right. Try this. Imagine eating your dead pet dog after it was hit by a car. You didn't kill it, and you cooked it well. Still feels wrong, right? But why? No harm was done. This is moral dumbfounding when our gut screams, no, but our brain struggles to explain. That's the elephant making the decision and the rider scrambling to justify. We're not logical Turing machines walking around. We're more like lawyers using arguments not to seek truth, but to defend our existing instincts. Chapter 5-6, morality is about more than harm and fairness. Western morality, especially among secular liberals, often focuses on two main pillars: care, harm, protect the vulnerable; fairness, cheating; justice, and equal treatment. But when Haidt went cross-cultural, studying India, Brazil, and even conservatives in America, he found that people's moral frameworks are much broader. He identifies 6 moral foundations: care versus harm, compassion and protecting others, fairness versus cheating, justice, equality, and reciprocity, loyalty versus betrayal, allegiance to one's group, family, nation, authority versus subversion, respect for tradition and legitimate hierarchies, sanctity versus degradation, disgust, purity, avoiding contamination, moral or physical, liberty versus oppression, resistance to tyranny or domination. Liberals mostly emphasize care and fairness. Conservatives tend to emphasize all 6 more equally. This explains why the two sides often talk past each other. Liberals may see conservatives as callous. Conservatives may see liberals as naive or unmoored. They're not just disagreeing on values. They're using different moral taste buds. Chapter 7-9, we're groupish, not just selfish. Another myth Haidt takes on, the idea that humans are purely selfish creatures shaped by evolution. Yes, we evolved to care for ourselves, but we also evolved to form tribes. Evolution shaped us into a 90% chimp, 10% bee. We're competitive, but also capable of profound self-sacrifice for our group. Group selection matters. Groups that cooperate can now outcompete groups that don't. That's why religion, ritual, and group loyalty evolved. They bind us together, creating shared purpose and cohesion. Ever notice how people at sporting events chant together, dress alike, and behave in sync? That's the hive switch being flipped, a primal instinct for merging into something bigger. This hive switch can be beautiful: marches, prayer, music, patriotism, but also dangerous: mobs, wars, radical ideologies. Chapter 10-12, morality binds and blinds. Morality helps us live together. It builds trust and stability, but morality also blinds us to our own flaws, to other perspectives, and to the humanity of the other side. Our minds are designed for confirmation bias. We seek out evidence that supports what we already believe and ignore or attack anything that challenges it. When we argue about politics or religion, we're often not debating policies or ideas, we're defending our team. And it feels righteous. That's why common ground is so rare. To bridge divides, and we have to understand the moral matrices of other people. Not just argue facts or data, but speak to their values. For example, to persuade a conservative, don't argue climate change with facts alone. Frame it as protecting the purity of nature or responsible stewardship. To persuade a liberal, don't use tradition or hierarchy. Emphasize care and injustice. If you can speak across moral foundations, people listen. Final point. Step back from the moral matrix. We each live in a moral matrix, a worldview that makes sense to us, feels obvious, and seems good, but is just one of many possible moral matrices. Haidt urges us to be less righteous and more curious. The goal isn't moral relativism, it's moral humility, the ability to say, I feel strongly, but maybe I don't see the whole picture. Final thought, Haidt doesn't ask you to abandon your values. He just wants you to see the elephant you're writing and maybe learn how to understand someone else's elephant too. If this made you rethink anything, even just a little, hit subscribe and stay curious with us. Like the video, if you're still trying to understand why good people disagree. And drop a comment. What's your moral foundation? We'd love to hear how this book landed with you.